If your primary strategy for survival is selling your time for money, you are selling a commodity that is plummeting in value. The market is being flooded with digital intelligence and robotic efficiency, driving the price of human effort towards zero. If you are trading hours for dollars, you are trapped in a linear equation where the only variable you can control is your own exhaustion. You are running on a treadmill that is slowly accelerating, and eventually you will fall off. So, if labor is the trap, what is the escape? If selling time is a losing game, what is the winning move? The answer is the single most important concept in wealth creation. The answer is leverage. Archimedes, the ancient Greek mathematician, famously said, "Give me a lever long enough and a fulcrum on which to place it, and I shall move the world." This is not just a principle of physics, it is the fundamental law of economic freedom. Most people live a non-leveraged life. They push the rock with their bare hands. If they stop pushing, the rock stops moving. Their input is directly tied to their output. 1 hour of work equals 1 hour of pay. If they get sick or sleep or take a vacation, the income stops. Leverage is the ability to disconnect your inputs from your outputs. It is the mechanism that allows you to put in 1 unit of effort and generate 10, 100, or 1,000,000 units of result. It is the difference between carrying a bucket of water and building a pipeline. To understand how to escape the rat race, you must understand the four distinct forms of leverage. For most of history, there were only two. The first is labor leverage. This is people working for you. It is the oldest form of power. The pharaohs used it to build pyramids. The industrialists used it to build factories. If you have people working for you, your time is multiplied by their time. But this comes with a heavy cost. It requires management. It requires politics. And most importantly, it requires permission. Someone has to agree to work for you, and you have to pay them. The second form is capital leverage. This is money working for money. This is the realm of Warren Buffett. You use your capital to buy machines or stocks or real estate. The money labors while you sleep. But again, this comes with a barrier. You need the money first. You need a bank to give you a loan or an investor to give you a check. Both labor and capital are permissioned leverage. You need a gatekeeper to say yes before you can start. But we are living through a rupture in history because of the emergence of the final two forms of leverage. These are the equalizers. The third form is code, and the fourth form is media. These are the tools of the new rich. Unlike labor, code does not complain. It does not need a break. It does not unionize. It runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, executing your logic perfectly. Unlike capital, media requires almost zero money to reproduce. You can record a video once and it can be viewed by 10 million people. The effort to reach one person is the same as the effort to reach the entire world. This is the concept of zero marginal cost of reproduction. The most critical distinction of our era is that code and media are permissionless leverage. You do not need a boss to tell you it is okay to write a program. You do not need a venture capitalist to authorize you to publish a podcast. The gatekeepers have been removed. The walls are down. The only thing standing between you and infinite scale is your ability to use these tools. In the past, the wealthy were those who controlled the land and the gold. In the future, the wealthy will be those who control the algorithms and the attention. You are no longer limited by how many hours are in a day. You are only limited by the quality of your ideas and the reach of your signal. We are moving from an economy of hands to an economy of levers. And the longest levers in history are lying right in front of you, waiting to be picked up. We established that the old path is a dead end. Now we build the new one. The first skill in the leverage triad is the ability to build. I call this skill the architect. For 30 years, learning to code was the golden ticket, but it was gated by a high wall of complexity. You had to be a mathematician, a logician, and a linguist just to say, "Hello, world." But that wall has collapsed. We have entered the age of permissionless creation, where the ability to write software is no longer about syntax, but about logic. Think of code not as text on a screen, but as an army of robots. This is the most powerful metaphor for understanding digital leverage. When you hire a human, you get 8 hours of effort minus lunch, minus distraction, plus emotional volatility. When you write a piece of code, you have created a digital worker that executes your command perfectly, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week until the heat death of the universe. It never asks for a raise, it never quits, it never gets tired, and most importantly, it costs $0 to replicate. If you solve a problem for one person with code, you can copy paste that solution for a million people instantly. The marginal cost of replication is zero. This is how you disconnect your time from your money. But here is the trap. Most people think they missed the boat. They think because they didn't study computer science in college or because they are bad at math, they cannot wield this power. They are wrong. In the current landscape, the definition of coding has fundamentally changed. Coding is now just prompting. The syntax, the brackets, the semicolons, the memory management, that is now the job of artificial intelligence. Your job is not to be the bricklayer. Your job is to be the architect. The architect is the one who designs the system. You define the inputs. You define the logic. You define the outputs. You are the general. The AI is your soldier. We are seeing the rise of the centaur, the fusion of human intent and machine capability. A human by themselves is slow and forgetful. A machine by itself is directionless. But a human directing a machine is a force of nature. You step into the mech suit of AI, and suddenly, your individual output is amplified by a factor of 10,000. A single developer today can do what a team of 20 did a decade ago. You do not need permission to build. You do not need a hiring manager to give you the job of software engineer. You do not need a degree on your wall. You just need to open a terminal or a cursor or a no-code workflow builder and start commanding your army. If you can write a sentence in English, you can build an application. If you can structure a logical argument, you can automate a business. The barrier to entry has never been lower, but the ceiling for leverage has never been higher. Stop telling yourself you aren't technical. In this era, technical just means logical. The tools are waiting. The army is ready for your orders. It is time to start building. If code is the engine of the new economy, then media is the fuel. You can build the most magnificent piece of software in existence, the most efficient system, or the most revolutionary product. But if it sits in a dark room where nobody sees it, its economic value is zero. This brings us to the second pillar of the leverage triad, the broadcaster. There is a comforting lie that we are told in school. The lie is that quality rises to the top and that the best work wins. This is demonstrably false. The graveyards of capitalism are filled with superior products that died in obscurity and brilliant inventors who died broke. Why? Because in a noisy world, the best product does not win. The best known product wins. Attention is the prerequisite for value. If you cannot capture attention, you cannot transfer value. In the past, capturing attention was expensive. You had to buy billboard space, pay for television slots, or hire an army of door-to-door salesmen. It was a game reserved for the giants, but the internet gave us the same gift it gave the architect. Zero marginal cost of reproduction. Think about the physics of a traditional seminar. If you want to teach 50 people, you rent a room, you set up chairs, and you speak for an hour. If you want to teach 50 more people, you have to rent the room again and speak for another hour. Your input is tied to your output. Now consider the broadcaster. You turn on a camera, you speak for an hour. You hit upload. That video can be watched by one person, or it can be watched by 10 million people. The effort required from you is exactly the same. The cost of distribution is borne by the platforms, not by you. This is infinite scalability. You are creating a digital clone of yourself that goes out into the world and advocates for you while you are asleep, while you are eating, while you are working on something else. However, media is not just about vanity metrics or viral hits. It serves a much more critical economic function. It builds reputation at scale. We are rapidly entering a world of infinite noise. Artificial intelligence is already flooding the internet with generic, soulless, synthetic content. We are drowning in mediocrity. In this sea of gray sludge, a real human voice, a real human face, and a distinct human perspective are becoming the scarcest and most valuable assets on the planet. This is the concept of the trust battery. Every time you put out content that helps someone or entertains someone or clarifies a complex topic, you are charging the trust battery with that person. But because of the leverage of media, you are charging thousands of batteries simultaneously. You are building a relationship with an army of people you have never met. In the old world, trust was local. You trusted your neighbors and your colleagues. In the new world, trust is global and digital. When you have a high charge in your audience's trust battery, you do not need to sell hard. The sale is already made before they even see the product. You are walking around with a global broadcast tower in your pocket. You have the same distribution power as a major television network had 20 years ago, but you have no overhead and no gatekeepers. You do not need a program director to approve your script. You do not need a license from the government. You only need the courage to hit record. Most people use this power to consume, to scroll, to watch, to distract themselves. The broadcaster uses this power to signal. They send out a beacon that attracts opportunity, capital, and talent. If code is the army of robots that does the work, media is the gravitational field that brings the world to your doorstep. Stop being a consumer of the signal. Become the signal. We have built the army of code. We have built the broadcast tower of media. But there is one final evolution, one final metamorphosis that turns the wealthy into the sovereign. This is the skill of the allocator. The third and final form of leverage is capital. Many of you will succeed at the first two stages. You will learn to build, and you will learn to sell. You will see your bank account swell with cash, and this is the moment of greatest danger, because cash is not wealth. Cash is a melting ice cube, dissolving in the heat of inflation. If you leave your energy stored in fiat currency, you are leaking power every single second. The moment you make money, you must immediately deploy it. You must send it out to die on the battlefield so that it may return with prisoners. The distinction between the laborer and the allocator is the distinction between kinetic energy and potential energy. Labor is kinetic. You have to move to create it. Capital is potential. It sits there, accumulating mass, waiting to be released. This is the only form of leverage where you are completely removed from the equation. Even the architect must update the code. Even the broadcaster must record the next video. But the allocator can disappear for a decade and return to find their empire has doubled in size. This is true detachment. The tragedy of the modern high earner is that they remain trapped in the labor phase. Doctors, lawyers, executives, they are high-paid laborers. They trade time for money at a high rate, but if they stop, the money stops. They buy liabilities, cars, watches, houses they live in, thinking they are assets. They are merely gilding their cage. To escape, you must convert your labor into assets that possess their own leverage. Think of this like a massive golden flywheel. When you start investing, whether it is in Bitcoin, in equity, or in real estate, it feels heavy. You push and push, sacrificing your consumption today for a return tomorrow. It feels like nothing is happening. This is the phase of static friction. But as you keep allocating, as you keep feeding the beast, the wheel begins to turn. It gains momentum. Suddenly, the centrifugal force takes over. The money begins to generate its own gravity. The dividends buy more shares. The rent buys more properties. The appreciation compounds upon itself. At this stage, your judgment becomes your primary skill. One correct decision, one right allocation into the right asset at the right time, can generate more wealth than 1,000 lifetimes of hard labor. This is why the rich get richer. It is not a conspiracy, it is math. Returns on capital effectively outpace the growth of the economy. If you are on the side of labor, you are fighting gravity. If you are on the side of capital, you are surfing the wave. Do not linger in the labor phase. Use code and media to generate cash, but do not hoard it. Allocate it. Own the robots, own the networks, own the land. Stop working for money and force money to work for you. We have dissected the anatomy of wealth. We have isolated the three variables that matter: the architect who builds with code, the broadcaster who amplifies with media, and the allocator who scales with capital. Individually, each of these skills is a ticket out of the working class. But when you combine them, you unlock something far more potent. You unlock the leverage triad. This is the holy trinity of the modern economy. If you look at the billionaires of the 21st century, you will find that they are not just masters of one domain, they are the synthesis of all three. Take Elon Musk. He is the archetype of the triad. It began with code. He built Zip2 and PayPal, software companies that generated his initial fortune. But he didn't stop there. He transitioned to capital, allocating that fortune into high-risk, high-reward physical engineering with Tesla and SpaceX. And finally, he mastered media. He bought the town square. He uses Twitter, now X, to bypass traditional journalism and speak directly to hundreds of millions of people. He writes the code, he owns the platform, and he allocates the capital. He is a self-contained economy. Or look at a different scale, Mr. Beast. It is easy to dismiss him as just a YouTuber. That is a mistake. He is a media mogul who understood the triad intuitively. He started with media, obsessively studying the algorithm to capture attention. Once he had the attention, he didn't just sell ad space. He built systems, code, and analytics to optimize his production. And then, the final step, capital. He launched Feastables. He used his media leverage to launch a physical product, instantly competing with Hershey's, a company that has been around for a century. He didn't need a marketing budget. He is the marketing budget. This is the destination. But do not let the destination paralyze you. The biggest mistake you can make right now is to try and do everything at once. You cannot be the architect, the broadcaster, and the allocator on day one. If you try to learn Python, start a YouTube channel, and day trade crypto simultaneously, you will fail. You will burn out. The path to the triad is sequential, not simultaneous. You must pick your wedge. Ask yourself, what is your natural inclination? Are you a builder? Then focus entirely on code or no-code tools. Build something that works while you sleep. Are you a communicator? Then focus entirely on media. Build an audience that trusts you. Are you analytical and patient? Then live on rice and beans, save every penny, and become an allocator early. You only need one lever to pry open the door of freedom. Once you have mastered one, you use the resources it generates to acquire the others. The era of the linear career is over. The gold watch is gone. The pension is gone. The loyalty of the corporation is gone. All that is left is you and your ability to generate value. You have a choice. You can continue to push the boulder up the hill, selling your hours until your body gives out. Or you can stop. You can look at the tools lying at your feet. You can pick up the lever. You can build. You can broadcast. You can invest. The system is rigged, but for the first time in history, the tools to rig it in your favor are free. The leverage is there, waiting for you. Pull it.